Few things matter more for your career than
networking.
Networking is super important.
networking. But standing out in a sea of overachievers has never been more difficult, let alone being memorable, and after being there I wanted to try and do something, so this is the PCB NFC business card. And straight up, this is not a 5-cent disposable card that you give to just literally anyone. It's a bit more intentional than that, because what I wanted and think this needed to be was a talking point, a differentiating factor, a tool, an oddity, a card that you give to the CEO of the company you want to work for or an investor who might back your next venture. It's something few people have ever seen and which had to be interesting enough to be shared with friends and coworkers but still remain professional, and this is what I came up with. If you want someone to examine something closely, don't make it extravagant or obnoxiously novel, make it subtly peculiar, which is why they aren't available in the classic PCB green, but instead only gloss white and matte black. It's why they aren't covered in traces and electrical components, but instead only have a single circuit board accent hinting towards their intended use. It's why the areas that get held by a person accepting the card are covered in traces, because after a moment holding one, you begin to feel that it's strangely three-dimensional. And the list really does go on, but it's these subtle peculiarities which inspire curiosity, and everyone I've shown them to can't help but examine them because they're just cool. Now, outside of that, there are a few more obvious features which make these pretty special. And probably my favorite is that on the underside you'll find an NFC tag, which when a person taps their phone, directs them to your personal website, your online resume, or your LinkedIn profile. Or maybe it just saves your contact information instantly onto their phone, allowing them to call you immediately. And the main benefit of having NFC is that it lets them do these things without having to painfully type a URL or phone number into their phone, because what a chore. Also, quick caveat, although NFC tags are really ubiquitous these days, and nearly every smartphone made in the past few years can communicate with them, iPhones before the iPhone 6 can't. Oh, and these tags are also fully reprogrammable with your phone, so if you ever want to change them to something else, you can. Continuing on the underside, there is a list of your 3 most prominent skills. Now, these are kind of tactical because they turn the card into a pseudo resume. Because when you meet someone at a convention or a CEO at a talk, how are they to know what you're good at without you awkwardly mentioning it? Or in a month's time when they come across your card and they've forgotten your conversation, how do they realize how you fit into their business or what talents you have to offer? Well, now your card takes care of that for you, freeing you up to just talk with them and build a relationship instead of a blatant transaction. Finally, and back to the front, I want to talk about the metric and imperial rulers because they actually serve a secondary function outside of just being another reason to keep the card. You see, when I was designing these, I came to learn that there are different business card sizes depending on where you are in the world. For instance, in the US they're really wide, whereas in the UK they're really tall, and in Japan they're somewhere in between, and on top of that, so many people have those minimalist wallets which don't always fit business cards, and so what size should these be? Well, I realized that there is actually a type of card which is globally the same size and which fits in all wallets, being of course your credit card. But although its dimensions are very close to UK and Japanese business cards, and you can't really see a difference, US business cards honestly look a bit wider. And that is where the rulers step in. Because just like in film, where if a director wants a shot to feel wide, they squeeze it with black bars on the top and bottom. Here the rulers do the same trick. They create the illusion of width without all the detriments that come with it. And what I hope all of these things achieve for you is that when you give one of these cards to someone, they keep it because it's so out of the ordinary, so unique, and they show it to their friends and co-workers, and in so doing share your information. And because it's a PCB, the card doesn't fall apart after a few months, it doesn't crease, get waterlogged or grow tattered, it remains perfect, and your name and what you do remains with them. I should probably preface this by saying that although these cards aren't expensive, compared to normal business cards, they also aren't cheap. PCBs just cost more than paper. But if you're interested in picking up a set, there is a link in the description where you can input your information, pick the color you'd like, pick the quantity you'd like, and it only takes about 2 weeks for me to make them and get them shipped. Also, a few things worth noting are that if you don't have a personal website, you can choose to leave the optional URL blank. The cards still look good without it. And if you don't have a LinkedIn profile or any other URL that you'd like to be loaded onto the NFC tags, leave that option blank and I'll program them to be your contact info so that when a person taps their phone, it makes your contact information instantly appear. And I hope they help some of you get to where you want to be, and stay tuned for more projects. This is really the beginning.